You know, something I forgot to do real quick when I keep asking you guys to give applause for all these speakers we have. There's something I want you guys to consider. Like, okay, look around this park. You are all such incredible people to take your Sunday and to live the kind of life where you care about things like this. And not only do you care about them, because there's a lot of people sitting on their couches right now saying that they care about nuclear waste. Okay, that's cool. The people I really respect are the people sitting on grass right now who care about nuclear waste. So I want you to give the biggest applause of the day to each other. Please, right now. More, bigger, more, bigger. And a side note to that, I would also encourage you all to stick your hand out and try to actually meet every single person at this place. Because you guys are all badasses, and I'm honored to even be in your presence. Bless you guys. All right. Our next speaker, oh, remember, we don't have to give twinkle fingers. You can scream here. Scream, go ahead. I love you guys, man. Okay. I can't move the flag. I can move this side of the flag, though. Does that work out better? All right, I'm sorry. I don't touch people's flags. That's a beautiful flag, though. So our next speaker is my friend PeterBergel. He's a longtime nuclear activist, and he works for Oregon Peace Works. He's a really smart guy, and I encourage you guys to listen to him. Please give it up for Mr. PeterBergel. There you go, boss.
Hey, thanks a lot. Hey, look at yourselves. Look at yourselves. You're beautiful. And look at these flags. I love to see these flags out here, especially of our native brothers and sisters. Let's give them a hand. You know, we can't do this work without them. And I'm so honored to be in the presence of so many of the activists that I've worked with over the years. It's kind of like old home week for us. Some of the people that are coming up here later in the program, and some of the folks who've already spoken, it's really great to see you all and to be here with you today. How many people came on a journey today? Right. How many people from Oregon? All right, how about Washington? How about further away than that? Idaho. All right, cool. All right, well, I've been on a journey too, and I want to tell you a little bit about it, and I want to tell you a little bit about what I learned from it. I've been on an anti-nuclear journey ever since I got out of college. I graduated from Reed College with a degree in physics a long time ago, and I went to work for the Atomic Energy Commission down in the Bay Area. I worked at the Lawrence Berkeley Laboratory on the Bevatron down there, did high energy physics work. And I thought it was fine. It was a good job, you know, nice benefits. The work wasn't too hard. Seemed like a good deal. And I didn't think there was anything wrong with nuclear power, nuclear energy, or radioactivity, or anything like that. I knew it was dangerous, but I didn't think there was a problem. So then I got involved with some folks down in Eugene in a program called macro analysis in the mid-70s. And that taught me the connections between all the things that are going on, the money and the environmental stuff and the foreign policy and the war, and all of that was connected up for me for the first time. I'd been an activist already for quite a few years at that time, but I didn't understand the connections the way I understood them at that time. And at the end of that macro analysis program, which took us a half a year to complete, we put together a program. We put together a project called Dr. Atomic's Medicine Show, and that was a comedy act, and it was all about what happens when Cool Hand Nuke comes to town. cool hand nuke. And we took it to all the places where they were thinking about building nuclear power plants at the time, which was 8 of them around the state of Oregon. We went over, we just passed today, we went over to, not Boardman, Pebble Springs at Arlington, yeah, that's right. And we performed there, and we went all over the state and did it at all those places. And you know, I'm proud to tell you that none of those nuclear plants was built. We take all the credit. Except a little bit goes to Lloyd Marbett over there. Anyway, after that, when we got that together, incidentally, Dr. Atomic's Medicine Show is still performing today, I'm pleased to say, and I'm still part of it. It's been 38 years. So, after that, we tried a couple of ballot measures in Oregon to address nuclear power. We did one in 74 and it didn't get on the ballot. We got one in 76 that did get out on the ballot, but it was outspent by the nuclear industry, and we didn't make it. And then we had something called the Trojan Decommissioning Alliance. How many people have heard about that? How many of you Occupy folks have heard about the Trojan Decommissioning Alliance? Well, if you haven't, you should, because it was really a predecessor of Occupy. And we occupied the Trojan nuclear plant 3 times, in 1977 and 1978. We were arrested, and the first time we put on such a good defense to a jury that we got a not guilty verdict, because they saw what the problems were. They saw why we were out there. They understood it, and they said, wow, we got to find a way to acquit you guys, and they did.
Yeah!
But that did not stop nuclear power in the state of Oregon. No, it didn't. And they were getting very serious about building that plant over at Arlington, the Pebble Springs plant. And Lloyd over here was giving them every bit of difficulty that he could. He was slowing them down, and he was giving them something to worry about. And he's like a junkyard dog, that man. You know, he'll get on your ankle and he won't let go. And so he held him up. And meanwhile, Chuck Johnson and I and some other people went to he's right over there, you'll hear from him in a little while. We went to the legislature in Oregon, and we said, we want a bill that'll stop these things. And we almost got it. We came that close. And I'll tell you, that's a whole other story. I don't want to go too far into this, but there's some great stories about that. But anyway, we almost made it. Not quite. One of our allies was a former governor of the state, Mr. Kulangowski. Another one of our allies was the present governor of the state, Mr. Kitzhaber. And so we've got allies down there. Anyway, Chuck and I put together a ballot measure in 1980, 1979, went into 1980. And by God, we got that thing passed. And it said there will be no nuclear power plant siting in this state unless you can get a vote of the people and unless there's an operating federal waste repository. And we passed that with 52% of the vote, despite a 20-to-1 spending disadvantage. That happened. And in order to do that, we built a wonderful organization of people across the state who worked very hard on this. And that was the Yes on 7 campaign. And when the campaign was won and we knew we didn't have to worry about any new nuclear power plant, we still had Trojan, of course, but we knew we didn't have to deal with any new ones. We said, well, what should we do next? And Chuck and a bunch of folks worked on a nuclear-free zone work, and he worked on alternative energy, and I know Lloyd's done a bunch of that. But most of us got involved with the nuclear weapons freeze movement, which was just starting up at that point. And we got involved with a whole national thing that was going on. And we worked for 4 years trying to get a freeze on nuclear weapons. We decided nuclear weapons was the next issue. And that's why I'm so grateful to the people who've come up here and talked about the Nevada test site. So we worked on that for 4 years and nothing was happening. We got the people behind it, but I learned something there. I learned something there. And I want you to learn it too. And that is, that we do not get represented by the people who are here to represent us. We can get a majority of the people behind us, and the nuclear freeze got majorities by every poll of 65, 75, even 80% of the people behind it, and still the government would not pass a freeze on nuclear weapons development. So we spun off. We knew that wasn't working, so a group of us, 6 of us got it together. We spun off from the nuclear freeze campaign and we formed an organization called the American Peace Test. And we brought tens of thousands of people to the Nevada test site to demonstrate against nuclear weapons down there at the Nevada test site and to stop nuclear weapons testing. Sister Megan was talking about that. May was talking about that. It was an exciting time. It was the cutting edge of the peace movement in those days, and things were really exciting. And in 1992, we did get a moratorium on the funding to do explosive nuclear weapons testing at the Nevada test site. That was a huge victory, and a lot of people were involved with it. It was great. So, meanwhile, we still had Trojan up here, and Lloyd kept working on that, and we were doing really good on that. Finally got that shut down. I think it was 1992, was it? Or 5? Three. Okay. So we got that shut down, and then a few years ago we watched the cooling tower get demolished, and that was a huge thing. Well, let me tell you some of the lessons that I've learned from this long journey that I've been on with nuclear issues. First of all, we've got a government whose first priority is defense. All the things that it says the government's supposed to do in the Constitution are second to defense in our government's opinion. First of all, they've got to be the most powerful, most biggest, baddest, most insane, crazy, over financed and overblown military in the world. And that focus is a real problem for all of us, because it means that every other priority that we might want to have, you know, like health and the environment and getting jobs for people and everything like that, all has to be second, because defense has to be first. So that's one of the things I learned. The second thing is I learned that we don't just like energy in this country. We don't just want energy in this country. We are addicted to energy. We've got to have energy. We've got to have energy to do every single thing that we ought to be able to do without it. We ought to do, or things that we could do better with simpler forms of energy. We are addicted to it, and we are also addicted to greed, or at least a lot of us are just addicted to greed if we admit it. But certainly the corporations that run our country are addicted to greed. And last thing is we have a lust to master the atom. It's like the atom was some kind of an enemy that we had to overcome some way. We can't live with it, we have to master it. And that just doesn't turn out to be very good. And Hanford is the poster child for why that's a problem. It's really a problem. So, if there's a buck to be made, we've got companies that are going to come out and try and make it, and they will lie to you about what we need to do it. It's too expensive, it's too dangerous, and it's too hard for human beings to handle. That's another thing I learned. And another thing I learned, and this is really important, is that every step of the way, civil resistance was necessary. We had to do civil resistance at some point along the way. But that said, it's also important to know that civil resistance is not enough. Civil resistance won't do it by itself. You've got to use all the tools that we can find. And lastly, and I'll finish with this, the Lorax was right. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. And that's why I'm glad that you're here. That's why I thank you for your time. I was hoping to sing you a song, but I'm out of time. I want to thank you very much for the work you're doing. I want you to keep doing it, and I want you to remember the words of the Lorax. Thank you very much.